Good morning, everybody. We will be with you in just a moment. A couple of different feeds here going. All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is in the world you're coming to us from. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in this digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show with my great co-host, Mr. Pedro Garcia, whose camera isn't on right now, but his voice is here. Pedro, what's happening? Oh, maybe his voice isn't.
What is up? Hey guys, it is a beautiful market. Hello, 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 hello.
You're here, there. We got you, Pedro.
All right, perfect. Okay. I am amazed of what we're seeing right now because it's hitting all of our stuff. We've talked about this literally for almost a year now, of what we've been expecting. If Trump gets in office, we should see these type of economic, because the market has been bizarro land for the last 15 plus years, since 2008. And the reality is it's kind of going back to normal. The idea that we needed to see the market come back into a base right relationship to what it's supposed to, and a lot of the fluff has priced out the poor in America, and really just kind of assets that actually increase their wealth. And so Trump is trying to take out the hot air, drop the markets. We've talked about this. Isn't anything? Go back to how many technical Tuesdays have we had? Like,
We've had a lot, Pedro,
a lot. And
all of them talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is ad nauseum. So our viewers should not be freaking out. We should know what's happening. We've talked about this. It's happening, right? So this is nothing to. Why isn't my thing working?
You've got some kind of thing going on with your computer there, Pedro, and it introduces a delay into this too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the reason why is I should have done this and I didn't. But
anyway, Pedro, before we get too deep into it, we are obviously lots of stuff has happened in the market. The markets are reacting to the tariffs that were put onto everything. The markets started imploding last night as China opened up, or Asia opened up their markets, and started coming down all night.
Breaking news, Trump threatens an additional 50% tariff on China to social. What's going on here?
Anyway, and so the markets reacted as expected. We didn't. I note the media is all up in arms about the markets crashing. People are crashing. I was even at some relatives last night talking about, people said, "Oh my God, this is so awful. My 401ks are blah 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 down 10% or something like that." They're still up 10% from, a year ago. So it's not a market crash. This is a correction. And Scott, I've been calling you Pedro for a couple of years now, and I just called you Scott.
Okay.
Because he's on the topic here. But the Trump team has been getting some good messaging out. In a rare occurrence for Mr. Trump or in any presidential administration, they're getting some good messaging out. But it is going mostly unheeded by the mainstream media. The financial press is picking it up. The market on the New York Open this morning, it did the opposite of what everyone thought. People were like, "Oh my God, it's going to crash. We're going down to zero." And it had a lot of volatility, obviously, and it did the normal thing where it wiped out the longs before going back up, and then wiping out the shorts and coming back down. But the messages were really good. And over the past few days, Mark Rubio had a wonderful press conference, which he explained things very matter-of-factly. And Pedro just turned me on to Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, talking to Tucker Carlson, which I found, I didn't know that had happened, and it's quite an interesting Quite an interesting combination of the two, Tucker getting that interview. Anyway, and we'll talk about that more, but Pedro, what'd you say is breaking news right now?
Yeah, it just popped up. You can see on my screen here. Breaking news, Trump threatens additional 50% tariffs on China, Truth Social. So if you want to pull up Truth Social and check out what it's all going around, this Trump issues a veto threat on the tariff bill. Axios. Dog, this is absolutely nuts.
Imagine being a senator, a U.S. senator for the past 20 years or 30 years, one of these old guys, which everything just kind of languishes for a while, takes forever. We'll get to that. That's a good point. We should talk about that. Let's get a subcommittee doing it. And then in the past 2 months, it's just like, wow, Oklahoma. And I mean, the concept of having tariffs. Again,
you're killing me.
Strong
that
tariffs. We have a lot of small tariffs. But strong tariffs, again, would have taken Congress forever, absolutely forever. Pedro, I got to get this. It's my daughter.
Oh, okay. It's okay. My phone, my screen just went black. All right, guys. While Tom is taking care of business at home here, let's check out the markets here real quick. So BTC is doing what we expected. All right, guys, this isn't anything we're shocked about. Look, we've talked. How long have I been talking about coming and tapping that 74, 75 area here? We bounced off of our zone, coming back up. I'm definitely still very bearish here. Short-term bearish. We've talked about a flash crash coming in. Again, this isn't anything even really that big. I mean, the truth is, it was kind of fun because somebody was like, "Oh, everything's falling apart." I said, honestly, this is a typical move in Bitcoin. I mean, this isn't anything too scary here. Yeah, we're seeing the traditional markets kind of fall apart, but in crypto, it's like, oh, this is a normal once a month event here. It ain't anything crazy, so it's kind of funny. It's almost like we're forgetting about the good old days when we would see a 70% drop in Bitcoin and go, let's buy in on it. It's kind of funny. Excuse me, that's actually the wrong word. It's not funny. It's one of those things that I know people are hurting, and because their backs are going down. But we've been talking about this, and my heart is that we've been talking about this market selling off here now for a while. This hasn't been anything that should be shocking to any of our viewers, right? Because this is something that I've literally been talking about this, and really just kind of letting you guys know what to expect here as we really start to pick up. Now let's go into it, because come on, please work. Why is my computer being? Be cool, honey buddy. Be cool. Anybody know what that's from? Yes.
Be cool, honey.
Do you know what it's from? Yeah, one of the epic scenes in Pulp Fiction. Remember with the crazy lady? And she, at the end, she's like holding the gun after they did all the crazy. She comes in and she's like, they pull out the gun because they're gonna do a heist. It was like at a Denny's, I don't know, or like a diner.
Oh,
like
yes.
And Samuel Jackson's like, he's like, they're talking like Honey Bunny, and he goes, Honey Bunny, be cool, Honey Bunny, be mother cool.
Yes.
Be cool, Honey Bunny. So I got stuck in my head, dude. If any of you young generation hasn't watched Pulp Fiction, it is a classic. Half of my comments probably come from it, but on the back end, I want to add to this. Right now, we're seeing what we expected. Okay, now I've been saying, remember, I've been saying to help you guys understand. Most likely, where we're going to go is that 50 to 30,000 mark area, and potentially. And I was talking to a gentleman over the weekend. He thinks we're going back to 10 and 5,000, which we do have buyers there. I've talked about that. So this guy's he owns a fund. He's a bigwig in Washington, or not in Washington, but well, probably in Washington as well. But in New York, he's been in the industry for 40 plus years, and he's adamant at 10,000, 5,000, saying, "Yeah, I'm holding powder to there, so that I can, So it's the traditional finance people they're very much involved in Bitcoin, and many of them are very bearish short term. Long term, they are bullish as anybody out there. I mean, they're probably more bullish than crypto people, because they're really outlaying hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. We already know that Larry Fink has talked about digital assets being the future of finance. And he's now not just said this once, or he's said this multiple times
A
on
lot of
multiple
times, yeah.
yeah, saying this is the future. And the reason why I was thinking about this over the weekend, I said to myself, this man has been out becoming a landlord. They are buying up single homes, multi-family homes, and renting them out.
Not good.
Personally, well, it's kept the supply, obviously, to a very minimal, and the demand, even though it wanes, if supply is being bought up by an artificial buy, and demand is waning because people can't buy, it still keeps their MBSs, mortgage-backed security leverage systems, which I talked about, I think on Thursday or Wednesday, level, so that they can keep making money. If we see a drop, and I think I'm going to add this, if we see a drop in BTC and then a huge rally, then we're definitely going to see this idea of what I've been talking about from a financial standpoint. And I think it's so important here, like really important to understand that we see this movement. And I think 2008 never fully went away. And a lot of those assets got mitigated. And so as that has happened, they need a sell-off buyback explosion. So they will announce that the housing market supply is coming in. We're going to see a drop in the housing market as supply increases and demand decreases. Who's gonna sell it off? BlackRock will sell off their houses and then go in, take their profits from many of these leveraged side bets on the housing market, and buy Bitcoin, buy a lot of other assets. So it will offset within a 3-month period. We will see an explosion like never before. I think is what we're going to see. And Larry Fink and many of the major hedge funds out there, as well as many banksters, will be flipping their stuff and then funneling into digital assets, real world assets. They will have their own blockchains, as well as utilization of cross transactions of trading, cross trading transactions between a lot of these others, so they can simultaneously do all this. And this is going to be done quickly. I've said we should have a drop, major flash crashes, what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
That flash crash coming down to the areas that we're going to talk about. And then from there, the market again is going to the traditional markets are going to stair step up, but we're going to see literally a rocket with crypto assets explode, right? Because they're all going to drop simultaneously while they're offloading, and then buy up with traditional money into digital assets.
All right, and Pedro, you've dropped a big complicated topic on us there.
No, it hasn't.
Hold on.
Bro, I've been talking about this forever. It's not. All I did is saying we're now in the midst of
Pedro,
it.
I'm talking for 5 minutes about a deep topic that the viewers have to unpack to understand it. That's what I was referring to. I'm like, wait, there's a lot in there for everyone to understand. But I have an analogy that I think may add to it. It's that if the BlackRocks and those kind of guys can't get all the retail people they want to FOMO into the digital assets so they can take their money as exit liquidity or otherwise and use them for liquidity. The example you just gave me tells me that they're, instead of going directly to them, they're going to step through the housing market to get their money. Is that kind of what you're saying? They're going to get the money out of the housing market.
They're going to stop being landlords.
From Mr. and Mrs. American, and then take the winnings from there and reinvest that into digital assets because there's not enough liquidity in the retail people coming in to do what they need to do.
Well, I just think I think is going to happen is they're going to come in, release what they've done, basically get out of that trade that they've held for the last, 10 years, 15 years. And then from there, they're going to then go into a new asset. Or maybe release a quarter, if not half of their assets there and buy into crypto assets is what I'm expecting, because the hot air is being released out of TradFi. And so they're going to lose a lot. I mean, obviously they're shorting it, but the capital appreciation in digital assets have been suppressed. I've talked about the institutions are suppressing this for months, for literally months, so that they can bring it down to those lower areas so they can buy. And so what they're going to do now that Trump is literally going, all right, I want the American people to own real businesses at low interest rates. I want real manufacturing to come in so that we can actually have real product in America where we sell to the rest of the world. Again, this is simplifying it, and then allowing the American to be able to go through and buy real assets as in that literally make you wealthy. You buy into the stock market at low because you actually have real money. We've talked about the US dollar dropping here for almost a year and a half, I believe. I've talked about this trade because I said if Trump is really going to do this, I thought we were going to keep screaming up, right? But we saw yesterday that the market sold off, what was it? Thursday, we saw the market sell off to 101. I was hoping it would hit the 100, literally, but it came back down and we saw the dollar go up. Hence, this is allowing the real this is going to cause deflation. It won't even cause stagflation. This is going to be deflationary for Americans. There will be a contraction of the actual economy at first, and then an explosion out of America. Because one, I think Americans, and I think we're going to need to bring in a lot of immigrants, in all honesty. I mean, I think it sounds crazy, but I think they'll vet
I
them.
agree with you on that, but there's a legal way to do that.
Yep. Yes. I don't disagree. Well, I think there's going to be like in the 80s here. I mean, in all honesty, I think they're going to be fearful. They're going to get in here and they're going to try to figure out a way to work. Right. And then smart businessmen are going to sit there and say, well, if I have like 10% of my workers and, like this is what happened in the 80s, right? Like 80s and 90s, where they would come over illegally into America, find a way to work as a janitor or whatever. And it was cheap wage. Right? Because America, we don't have enough. Our populace is not going to want to work. Now, we have a hard enough working as dishwashers, or people would rather be an Uber driver than I hate to say, working in what's the word? In the back of a restaurant, right? Or even a server, right? Like, I don't want to work as a server and deal with people, and they're going to go and work in a factory. Right? But here's the thing. So those guys are going to come over. They're not going to, most of them aren't going to cause crime like we saw in the 80s and 90s. They didn't cause crime. They weren't crazy. Like I told all those gangbangers a couple months ago, if you're going to be here, you don't have to go back. I mean, if you want to even go back, you should go back. But if you lay low and start working just like as a normal worker and contribute, right? And then say, yeah, I'm illegal. All right, hey, but I would like to get citizenship here. Or not citizenship, but like a green card. Let me come and work.
Right.
Boom. Like, and again, I'm not for those gangbangers. We've talked multiple times about MS, the cockroach. I don't want to talk.
Well,
about it,
I think, Pedro, I think you're right. But one of the thoughts that I have, one of the problems that the U.S. has had with its workforce is that we put everyone into college. Everyone, it's like you have to go to university and just skip the trade schools and vocational schools and stuff like that. And that was a big mistake. And that was one of the drivers of getting rid of the middle class, because without those people and making it difficult to hire skilled people or just people that can go work in a factory and be smart and figure it out. You don't need a 4-year degree to go in and figure out a factory. You need a couple of courses in production work, maybe a Six Sigma or some Kanban bullshit, and you can get an idea of how to run a factory or just work efficiently in one, and you can get paid well in it too. And then as you get more skills, then you can go to advanced universities and get, and people decide how far they want to go. They say, no, I enjoy working a 9 to 5 or a 6 to 3 job, and I don't need to advance. I'm doing well, and I have my deal. And other people are like, I want to advance, and they go to school and train themselves and move up. When I took over a company in Canada, the employee base was a disaster. It was an F-all disaster. The previous boss had would like walk around and give out raises. People had to beg for raises. They were trained poorly, and I just said that's it. I said, we can't have this. I said, and they said, well, we need more training. I said, I'm not going to pay for all of you guys to go to training here, like going to university. I said, those of you that want training can get it. Those of you that don't want it, don't get it. Because I know not everyone here wants to do that. And so I changed up their pay schedule. I said to them, all right, we made job classes. And to get from the next job class to the next, you had to meet certain goals like attendance and quality performance, but also training. And you had to get training and move up. And the people that wanted to move up did. The people that didn't want to move up either left the company or were fine where they were and were happy with it. And that's what our workforce is like, or needs to be like. Good morning, Roland Rod. Thanks for joining us. That's what our workforce needs to be like. We can't force everybody, you have to go get a master's in this or bachelor of science in this and then a master's in this. And then you end up with everybody just wanting to sit back and work in an office doing nothing. We're working from home. And so you're right, we're going to need immigrants, but we're also going to need to change our educational system and get that focus back on training people for what they want, not telling them what they need to do. I've run a couple of factories and hired a lot of guys and women, guys and gals. And there are people that thrive in factory environments, absolutely, positively thrive. And because they're good with their hands, they're good with their brain, they can visualize what needs to happen and stuff like that. And there are other people that are just no good at it. They're like, oh, there's noise and distraction, I can't do this. And I'm a big proponent of separating us from sending everyone to school. Hey, you're 18, what do you want to do? You don't know? Well, let's do a couple of things first and figure it out. There's a little sidebar there, but that's what, you're right, absolutely right about the workforce. We're going to need to do something about it. We'll probably need lots of legal immigration because this whole thing turns around fast. I spent 27 years in manufacturing, and we've discussed this before, Pedro. When all of our jobs left for Mexico and China, everyone thinks, oh, manufacturing in the U.S. crashed. It never went down. Our manufacturing output has never gone down, except for right after 2008, right after 9/11, and some outlying things. Our manufacturing output has just steadily grown over time, even when we sent 20 million jobs to China and Mexico. That's because we got more efficient. Our productivity per worker increased. Our GDP per worker increased. All these good things happened. And so we still have a massive marketing or manufacturing base in the US. And it can spin on a dime. It can turn around and add people. It can open new factories quickly. It can bring new production lines on. The entrepreneurs want to start. There's millions of guys out there like me who want to start their own business making stuff. Because it's fun. It's cool when you make something. You get to the end and you got, hey, look at this shit I made. Can you believe I made that? Pretty cool. Anyway, sorry for this sidebar, but that people have to understand that That it's not, they're like, whoa, the U.S. is just a big service economy right now. No, it's not. Is there a lot more services as a percentage of GDP? Yes, there is. And you're on mute, by the way. I don't know how long you've been on mute. You just let me
Bro,
go.
I was so excited, bro. I didn't even realize I was actually doing it. Dude, I'm sitting like, and then I was like, no, I don't know about that. So we'll go back to the no, I don't know about that in a minute. But I do agree with that idea that there's a huge portion of America that is literally into the service world, right? Like meaning sales, right? They do a lot of sales. They do a lot of things that are generating income, but it's based off of a core level that is still at a small manufacturing level, right? Like there's a lot of money that is generated by selling things overseas or doing it and allowing there to be sales that generate income that you can tax or whatever. But the biggest key though is that America doesn't have a lot of buyers. Because I don't think there is enough manufacturing. I remember in 2009 when we started seeing that the depletion of, it was 90% of the world's goods was produced in America. And then once Clinton went through, and I think this is really important to understand, I don't think he like maliciously tried to sell, out America. At least I don't think so. But it's this idea, though, that much of that off branding was given by our business people, right, to China. Where I live, there used to, in this area, there are empty. Where I lived was like 25% of the manufacturing was done up in the Northeast area. Connecticut, Danbury, bro, it was a powerhouse. You had 2 or 3 FU jobs, meaning you had your main job that paid the bill, and then you could work a part-time job or another full-time job. And if they irritated you, you say F you to this one, I'm going over here, and literally the same day. And we saw that throughout the whole entire West Coast as well as the East Coast. They produced. Now, maybe 25%. And yes, I know that the population went from, 5 billion to 7 billion, but that's crazy that was pushed out. So to sit there and say that we have the same amount, that's not correct. That is not correct. But I do agree. We do produce. When we do produce, we produce fairly good. Now, we're not at the top skill of producing as much. What we need, like, let's say, Japan, I forget the guy who played Batman, the first one, when he says, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Jack, no, not with the one with Jack Nicholson and Michael. Yeah. There's a movie in the 80s that shows him, I think it's 80s or 90s, that literally shows him trying, working in this car factory, trying to build all these engines and all this stuff. And the Japanese came over and was like, literally they were working nonstop, and they weren't able to be as efficient as Japan, right? And kicking off. So there's definitely going to be some real innovation. And I think with Elon Musk, I think it would be smart for Elon Musk to sit there and go, you know what? Let me show you guys how to actually automate things in an appropriate way. Let's go ahead and show you how to go through and produce the amount that we need to produce to the rest of the world. I think there's going to be a lot of upgrade and schoolings to teach people how to engineer, supply, manufacturing. What's the word I want to use? When you produce things and why am I forgetting what that's called? When you would produce something, you had a line of guys doing it, right? And you had to make that efficient. Why? Supply line. We need to be. I was so hard to talk. I was like, but we need education on how to make supply lines efficiently as we start to bring on robots, as we start to bring on other AI systems, right? And I think it's gonna be really interesting. So let me be quiet. And that was a lot. And you tell me, like, because I just rebuttal you there. I did rebuttal that. And
rebuttal.
Yeah. So in relationship to the idea that America isn't producing or producing the same amount. I would disagree with that.
Well, let me bring up the chart.
Okay. Yeah, bring up the chart, my friend.
The red line is GDP over time. You can see the effect of the 2008 mess. But the blue line here is manufacturing output. And this only goes back to 2004, but I'll find another chart that goes back to the 50s and stuff. And manufacturing output just keeps going up. The jobs chart's the other way. And I remember, in fact, I grew up in the manufacturing industry in the Northeast because my grandfather owned a corrugated box plant in Middletown, Connecticut. And they watched as all their customers left. All their customers left, and eventually my dad's brother had to close the company. When it was just to say they just couldn't compete. One of the problems in the paper business is the cost of transportation. So you can't sell to customers in California with a plant in Connecticut. So all their customers left, and I said, where do they all go? And they're like, Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina. In fact, he went down to South Carolina to look at opening a plant down there instead. And he says all the customers just moved down there. And that left the Northeast high and dry. And now when you drive around, I drove around the Northeast when my son was out doing a year in Worcester. And I was just amazed at the old decrepit factories, side of the curvy roads that used to have. At every place where a road met a creek, there was a factory of some sort, an old mill or something but it had been converted into a modern factory. There's like massive amounts of electricity going to all these old buildings, empty. They all moved. And my opinion is that they moved because the stranglehold of the unions up in the Northeast. That just doomed them all. And they moved to either the companies just said, screw it, we're going to China. But a lot of them went south. The manufacturing output in the South, in the United States, which has traditionally been close to zero,
So it left the Northeast and went down into the southern, to the south.
Yeah, just like they left Detroit. Same way, all the manufacturing has left Detroit except for, the key components of the car business that hasn't left there yet. But most of the factories aren't made in Michigan, or cars aren't made in Michigan anymore. They're all made down south in Arkansas and Alabama, and in the Carolinas. New plants in Texas going up, and it was the same thing. The car maker said to the auto workers, they're like, "We can't pay you that much. You can't be super wealthy. We can pay you a fair wage, but we can't keep just jacking up the prices." And they kept going on strike, and they're like, "That's it, we're out of here." And then when, I guess to your thing about Clinton and NAFTA, when they opened the door to essentially free trade with Canada and the U.S. and Mexico, a lot of stuff went to Mexico. They didn't go to Canada. It went to Mexico. GM opened a bunch of plants down there. They've got, I'm blurry.
You're blurry, dog. What just happened? I know why. Because your background is white and the light's hitting your forehead. And
I've got a new setup. I moved my shit around in my apartment, and the light above me is too bright, but I put it too high, and I need the ladder to get it. So I'm like,
just change your background. So we already have the background. Change it to something else. Change it to something darker, and you'll be good.
I know my background is there's a green screen behind me. Not virtual.
Okay, do me a favor.
I got you. Turn the web page. Yours is white too.
Well, if you move over to the left, there's still some color there, so you'll be not too much. No, you want to go. Yeah. So I just think it's real interesting what we're seeing. I think. Okay, so fair. I see that. I don't disagree. So, numbers are numbers. You're saying that we've actually saw an increase in manufacturing. It just happened to move somewhere else in the United States, is what you're saying.
Yeah, our output, our number of jobs declined dramatically, and the amount of manufactured goods we consume from overseas increased dramatically. But our manufacturing here, it was a steady climb, except for the 2008 thing when everything went down. It's always been climbing, and I'll find another chart that goes back to the, wherever.
Well, I'd love to see it from current today. I mean, because I know you can go through and check out today from, not today, up to maybe the last quarter where you can sit there and see. So I like to see the whole entire from, unless data wasn't kept, but if it goes all the way back to there, and I'm pretty positive it kept data up to at least 2025, first quarter. I'm just saying, just putting that out there. So I would love to sit there and see that. On the back end, let's talk about BTC here real quick. And then we can jump right back into what we were saying. So BTC is actually, I'm expecting BTC to keep following through. We talked about the 400-day period moving average acting as support, what we're seeing here. And I would expect that since we're coming in putting a large supply wick here, which is what we're seeing right here, I expected to see it continue. But as it's continuing down, I don't think we're going to see just as huge of the days, these huge days. But I expected to be kind of a stair step down up to the point where it'll look like this, come back up, test, and then drop and get back down to that 60,000 area here. So that's what I expect to see, like what we saw here, right? I'm done calling and saying we should see it by tomorrow, right? Because, well, it may not. So this is where it's like din, 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 drop, right? Pull up, drop, pull back, drop. So let's plan on something like that so that you guys can play this. Here, what's nice is we can keep context of what the market is really doing by looking at the NASDAQ, right? We've talked about the NASDAQ falling below the 400-day period moving average, what we saw on Friday, and now we're seeing the continuation, right? My price point for NASDAQ is down at that 10,000 mark area, 10,000. I don't think we'll get to the 9,000, but it's coming.
Look
it's
at that
moving.
chart though, Pedro. I mean, look at that dip in the past 24 hours. What do you got there? You got a monthly chart?
I just went to the month, yeah, but I can go back to the day. Let's go to the day. This is the day chart.
We're looking for, generally what happens with those is that there's a wicked reversal, And that's generally your strategy. You're looking for those zones it's going to hit, grab the reversal, and make it the fata banca.
Make it a fata banca.
Right.
I like that. Make it a fata banca. Shout out. I don't think we've even interacted with our viewers here. I feel really bad because we're normally like, shout out, what up?
Yeah, we don't have we have a smattering of viewers here today. But thanks to everyone that's joining us on Rumble. Really appreciate it.
Dr.
YouTube, Twitch. We got one viewer on Twitch. We also got some viewers on LinkedIn today. And Jean Paul, thanks for watching us.
Nice. Jean Paul.
Really appreciate it. He says, although I have to go now because I have to go into a client meeting. And he says, good stuff. Well, thanks, Jean Paul. We appreciate it.
Who is Jean Paul anyways? Do we know Jean Paul?
Nope. Just a YouTube viewer. Or I'm sorry, LinkedIn viewer.
LinkedIn viewer. Well, Jean Paul, thank you for coming in today. We appreciate you. Love for you to come back. We post on Rumble as well under the same moniker. And in additionally to that, we also go through and we use our good old friend YouTube to be able to try to say, but we got to keep it PC here simply because the algorithms will slap our hands. It's very interesting that the algorithms that slap our hands over on YouTube, we don't get our hands slapped over on Rumble. If anything, we get celebrated every time I say Trump, Elon Musk. But then I also got to say, if I'm over for YouTube, I got to sit there and say, Taylor Swift, Mr. Beast, Swifties. So it's one of those things that it's all fun here.
What's not fun, Pedro? Let me tell you
what is not fun.
I just looked out the window here. It's snowing. Chicago.
Dude, it's like 41 degrees where I'm at. And so it's like
I just put myself on mute so I could ask Alexa what the temperature was. And it's 32 and snowing. And I'm like, yesterday I was riding around my motorcycle, nice spring day. Today, takes it out of you. Anyway, like I was saying, I got a new setup. I moved my streaming spot from one part of the apartment to the other. trying to make this place more appealing to Mrs. Striking, to
smart man, make the wife happy.
And I dejunked. I am a collector of electronic stuff, gadgets and stuff, and I have stuff from when I was 20 years younger. And I have computer servers that are old. One of them I haven't turned on since 2014, and I still have it. And
that's funny.
And I grew out in Chicago. Anything you put in the alley that has metal in it is gone in 20 minutes.
Junk. Yeah, it's junk.
It's just gone. You just put it out there. Guys drive by in their old beat up pickup trucks, take it to the recycling, do their thing. I went out and I put out an old Sonos subwoofer that had broken, and I had tried to repair it 59 times. Never was able to. And then I came back inside, got the carcass of an old computer that I needed to get rid of. I pulled the hard drives out and deal with those separately. And I put it out there. The Sonos subwoofer was gone.
Because of
the metal in it. And I come back. I'm noodling around for a little bit, and I've got some of these old LED lights and stuff, and an old.
Did you say the word noodle?
Noodling around.
Noodle.
And and then I go back out, not 10 minutes later, and the computer carcass is gone, and I put these other stuff out there, and then I hear you always know the trucks that are the recycling trucks because none of them have mufflers. They've sold the muffler off their truck, but they put tape around it. So it's straight pipe, but they go so slow and they idle. They're not really that loud, but they rumble.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I heard it, and I turned, and the guy, you see this nice, and I'll just say Mexican, but they're all from South America, or south of the U.S. border somewhere. And he just gives me the look, and I'm like, because I had the door open, and I put more stuff out, and he comes running out. He's like, just starts throwing it in the truck. He's so happy. He beat the other guys. Anyway, and so I've got a new streaming setup. And new lighting set up, and I don't quite have the lighting set up right. Fire Chicken, what's happening on Rumble?
What's up? Good to have you, sir. It is good to have you. It's such a fun day, though. The markets. Just side note. So when a person trades, right, they're looking at the ATR. How far is this trade going to go? And one of the things you want to pay attention to is really like your entry timeframes, and your entry timeframes are what the things that communicate to you when to get in.
What is that?
Oh, this is Nmax, which is a new source entity that went basically viral. I mean, it went absolutely. They started when their IPO started at $14.01 when they went, and it went all the way up to 260.
Oh yes, you did mention that. You mentioned something about that. I was like, what?
Yeah. So I was looking at the chart over the weekend, and I said, man, this thing came literally like there are no wicks really until you get to right here, right? And I was sitting there going I was looking at going, maybe I should buy around, like that 55, 75 area, because I was looking at it, and sure enough, it came back down to this area here, and now it's kind of consolidating. I'm like, maybe I'll wait till a little bit further down.
That looks like a crypto chart to me.
Dude, that's exactly.
If you said that was shit butt in you meme, I'd be like, yep.
No, well, it's kind of
they rugged you.
It's a.
Did they delete their Twitter? Did they delete their webpage? Do the guys that run
live,
Nmax,
bro.
are they even doxxed? Are they even doxxed? Or are they just?
Well, you got to have an IP. If
they're
you're
working
do an
hard.
IPO.
They're working so hard. They're working hard. The 24 hours a day. The devs are working.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That is good stuff. Sorry, I don't mean to be drinking your guys' ear. So all about that kombucha.
I missed this comment by Chuck Jansen here. He says, headed in for surgery, finally going to offload this kidney to buy the market. I saw heading off to surgery, and I thought, well, he's a doc. He's going to be busy for a while. He said, no, he's selling his kidney. Well, that was the topic of the show. That and I made the funny quip instead of for those of you that have been to London or understand the UK train systems, there's always an announcement saying, mind the gap, because there's a lot of curved stations, and so there's a big gap. opens up.
Yeah.
And so I changed it into mind the dip. The best part, Pedro, this is the best part about, I asked Grok to put this graphic together here. Oh, wait, here, this one. And it's a picture of clearly the Victoria line because it has the slanted roof on it. But if you look in the train over on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a dude standing there. And Grok came up with the most miserable-looking English face.
Dude, they look legit, dude.
It looks like a mongoloid commuter. It was so fun. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I've got to have it. It's like probably somewhere in Grokland.
Going up to
the British are always pissed off about something, and so it made that guy's face just miserable. Anyway, mind the dip. Pay attention to these dips, and Pedro can tell you, and he will tell you over and over again, is to buy the dip, and it's this whole, like I said earlier, it's your trading strategy. You look for the zones where it's going to retrace to. Try and pick it up there and ride it back up as it goes. And day traders know this. And you know who else knows this, everybody? Warren Buffett. That's right. That's essentially what Warren Buffett does.
But Warren hasn't bought. Warren hasn't bought yet.
Sure,
the man liquidated. No, they're not. They're still on. Dude, they're still in the black, waiting for that to deploy their cash. They haven't bought anything yet. So once you start seeing Warren Buffett start to pick up companies, and again, he buys companies, right? Like it's literally what he does. He goes in and he buys a company. Oh, by the way, I did miss, and I'm so mad. I was coming back down to that 7-cent area on Crow. Anyways, I was frustrated. Okay. And I was like, come on, Crow, come on back down. So anyways, I digress. Once you start to see Warren Buffett, like Ray Dalio, once you start seeing the institutions start to buy, but again, I talked about this earlier. They're not going, like, it's the air is being, inflated out, deflated.
Deflated?
Out? Is that how it's when you let air out? Is that deflated or inflated? No, not be inflated. Inflated means going up. No, it's deflated. Yeah, I'm a little slow there. Sorry about my bad. Duh. So the air is being deflated out of the market here. You're hearing that, right? That's what's happening. Or it sounds like this as the air is leaving. So it's what we're seeing. And again, I want to reiterate this. If you are looking to buy assets, you want the market. 80% of America, actually, it's almost like 90% of America, really holds no real value in the stock market as individual stocks. And the ones that are participating are putting money into their 401k, right? And there's a vast majority of Americans that are not retiring, right? Because they can't, because inflation is so high. They've now got to go back to work. All right. And they can't even partake in their 401ks because when they decide they want to stop working, okay, they couldn't anymore because inflation, it decimated a lot of people's just working, living situation.
It decimated a lot of their accounts, or it just didn't let them grow, because if they grew 7%, but inflation was 7%, but things got more expensive also. But let's not forget, people are counting. One of the problems with the housing market right now is that the old people aren't selling. For two reasons. One, it's so expensive, everything. The young people are moving back in. And so older generations are keeping the larger houses because the kids still live there, maybe. But also, that's their retirement. And if they sell the house, they have to pay a big tax on the house. And they don't want to do that, so they're holding on as long as possible. They're taking home equity loans against it. They're running those reverse mortgage things.
I was going to say reverse mortgages, huge.
And so there's going to be a reckoning. If there's a reckoning in the housing market, the retirement market's going to get blown up. It's going to blow them out.
Well, here's the thing. It all depends on what funds they're in. So majority of people are in funds by what are the top?
I was just talking about in the prices of their house. People have $1 million equity in their house. $1 million right now is, $50,000 a year in free income if you're conservative. That's okay for a retirement person to live in an apartment and just chill. But if that goes down to 500,000 and inflation goes another 7% for 2 or 3 years, then they're destitute.
But we're not going to have inflation. This is what I'm trying to say. I know that people are saying because the rest of the world right now, everybody's hemorrhaging. So everybody's going to keep their money to themselves. America is going to start producing. Our dollar is going to be low. Remember, we talked about this when Trump got into office. And I said, expect the Dixie to go down. It will be easier for people to buy American goods because our dollar will be so low. Their dollar is going to be higher. This is what Bassett was talking about, and most other people were talking about the currency wars and what's actually happening, right? But America is basically, we're seeing a drop in the dollar here, right? And we're watching this as it comes down. If Trump can keep pushing this down or figure out a way to keep this down, then the rest of the world will want to do business with us because it will be cheaper to do business with America than other countries, right? Even doing business within their country.
People forget that no matter what your emotion is, over time, money talks. People vote with their money,
Yep.
and they'll be like, "Well, I am a German. I feel real good about buying this German piece of equipment, but I can get it in the U.S. for 10% less." So
Yep. Yeah. And if he can keep bombing the Houthis, I mean, just, and keep the free trade going on, and where you can actually, dispense that, then it changes things, which is, did you see, I think it was last week, we didn't talk about it, but the bombing, did you see that video?
the
Dude.
size of those explosions.
Dude, I was like, oh, there's, yeah. Yeah, it was the YouTube shock face.
Yeah. Well, the Iranians had helped Yemen build their deep bunkers for storage out in the desert mountains of Yemen. And so this is the most amazing thing, Pedro. Guys wake up in Missouri. They go put on their flight suit, go check out their plane. Hey, good morning, Jim. Oh, good morning, Earl. Oh, how's it going? Oh, good. We're going to have a long day. Okay. Yeah. They get in their B-2 Spirit. They fly over the U.S. They tank over the Atlantic, get some fuel, come down over Europe, keep going a little bit more. They probably tank again, get some gas in the air. And then they head down through the Arabian Gulf. They're flying in with the flights going to Dubai for vacation. They're right in there in the air traffic. And then they turn and unleash fire and brimstone upon these goat herders. And then they turn around and fly back. How you doing, Jim? Oh,
they're not goat herders, by the way. These are people who are specifically been training to take over ships and to hurt the
bosses are, but they've unfortunately recruited a lot of the uneducated class in to do their bidding and to do their digging, to do all, like every military throughout history does. The smart guys turn the other people into slaves to do their bidding for them. The absolute crap out of them. And it was a show of force, not just for the Houthis. It was a show of force to the Iranians to say, look, Jim and Earl can wake up in Missouri and come over and wreck everything here, including getting around their air defense, which wasn't a problem, and then go home, no problem. Meanwhile, all of your infrastructure is kabombed. And that's a very powerful statement. But they let that Houthis thing go on way too long. That should have been dealt with on day one. It's like when the U.S. sent the Marines over to Libya in the late 1700s with the
decimated.
For the stop the piracy, and they're like, enough of this, and they just killed everybody.
What was this? Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you say UK?
The UK.
Who did you say that?
The U.S. sent their Marines to
the 1700s?
Yeah, late 1700s.
I don't remember this. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's the theme of the Marine Corps from the shores of Tripoli.
Oh, dude, I actually I don't know that
In the
Thank you.
Mediterranean, the late 1700s, they were messing with our trade. And coming out of, they were doing a lot of trade with Northern Africa, Greece, Turkey, all this type of stuff. And they kept, the pirates coming out of Libya were making a mess of things. And so the U.S. is like, all right, enough of this crap. We now have a Navy. Let's use it. So they sent the Marines on ships over there. You know, took them a month to sail over there. But then they just killed everybody. You know, anyone that said, no, shoot, 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 shoot. And that's the story of the Marine Corps and their song, From the Shores of Tripoli. Any Marines watching? You guys know this. I don't know the song that well. Anyway, our numbers just went up on Rumble, so that's good. Thank you, everyone, joining us on Rumble. Hoorah.
Hoorah. I love that, dude. When I was in the rescue swimming program right in the Coast Guard, we'd have to get up after they'd beat you, right? For like you had a set beating period. We were just 2.5 hours of just getting crushed, right? And then throughout the whole entire day, you're just getting beat. Like do 30 pull-ups every time you cross a doorpost. You know, you'd have to do pull-ups and then to do push-ups, right? Do some squats, whatever, right? And so you're getting beat throughout the day. And when we stand up after you get done getting beat, you stand up and go, hoorah! You know, I always thought it was funny, but it was real though. It was, you know, I mean, at that point I got up to doing about 135 to 140 pull-ups a day.
Wow.
Easily. Yeah. And then I just kept going on. I stayed at 135 pull-ups for about 2 years. I just every day, because you get to the point where it's just like your body craves that pump, like, because there's so many endorphins that come. Well, you do. You get to the point where you're like, you need to feel that, and so I would work out for about 2 hours straight, or probably about an hour and a half straight, 2 hours, where I would literally do pull-ups, bar dips, push-ups, and sit-ups. And in that period, the first 30 minutes, and I would do all this in 35 minutes, 40 minutes out of that hour, where I would go through, and I'd get in 135 pull-ups. I would do sets of 45. I would start at 15 and get up to sets of 45. Hey, dude, people would sit there and look at me in the gym going, who the F, what? and then
over here.
And then the last five sets, or the last five reps of them, I would do L pull-ups. So basically, your feet come up and you're doing pull-ups like that, right? Anyways, the reason why I'm saying this is we would say hoorah. So, sorry, I just went on a total tangent there.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. Yeah, they're like, anyways, but I was actually going to go into the Marines, but I had an ex-girlfriend, mom, like, call me over her place and was like, Pedro, please don't go into the Marines. You ask too many questions. They will kill you. For real. And then she said,
what in the hell is your problem?
Yeah, I was looking to go Coast Guard, and then so she told me about Coast Guard, and so I decided to go to the Coast Guard, and it was a good decision. I was too much of a nice guy, though, way too much of a nice guy. You know, I had to learn to become a dick, because there's bullies, but wherever you go, man, there's bullies everywhere, dude. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Anyways, so I gotta step away real quick because I got a bio break here.
All right.
I will be back. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, watching the Monday edition of DYOR Live here. Talk a little bit about. Get the TV. Used to run CNBC on air, but they stopped allowing me to stream that. Anyway, we've been talking about the markets today. One of the big things that people need to understand, if you're not up to, if you're one of those people that protest what Trump and Elon are doing, there's a couple of things you need to understand. is that the U.S., while losing manufacturing jobs over the past 30 years, 40, the tune of 20 million jobs or so, our output, manufacturing output, has increased. People don't know that. They think, oh, we're just a service economy right now. The U.S. still has a massive, massive manufacturing industry. I spent a lot of time on it. In all the major cities, there are trade shows and offices of all the major manufacturing companies, manufacturing equipment companies, people that make forklifts, robots, all the stuff for your factory, everything you could possibly think of, electrical, conveyor belts, blah, 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 blah. Laser cutters, metal fabrication, CNC machines, all this other stuff. Those things are readily available in the U.S. because companies buy them. Companies buy them, and they buy a lot of them. Not as many as we could have been if we hadn't let all our jobs go to China. But what it did is it caused us to get extremely, brutally efficient. In the manufacturing business, and anyone that works in it in a competitive industry knows that you have to deploy a lot of capital to make a little bit of margin. If market conditions go well, you can make a lot of money in it. A lot of money in it. But generally, you're fighting 3 or 4 other very similar companies for the same customers. And so you have to operate on a very slim margin. It's just like the food business. But it's made competing against the low prices from China. The graphics machine just rebooted. Competing against the low prices from China has caused U.S. companies that either compete against them or just sell into the same market but a little bit different product to become brutally efficient and very quick, very, very quick to change, quick to go out of business or quick to change with the market. And they can respond very, very quickly to these types of things. Our problem is labor. That's one of the problems we have. But we're designing most new factories come out have robotics involved in them. I saw a post yesterday out there. Someone showed one of Porsche's new manufacturing facility in Stuttgart or over near Stuttgart, wherever they are. And it's almost fully automated, the manufacturing process of it. Kind of like Tesla's shop, Tesla's things. And this lady posted, so where are all these good jobs going to come from if all we're doing is just having factories of automation? And you have to look at the bigger picture here. When Henry Ford invented the production line for cars, did it put, was it bad for the economy? No, they got more efficient. You get more out of every individual worker, and the skills of those workers go up. So instead of workers wasting their time doing this, now a robot goes, but someone has to program that robot. Someone has to maintain that robot. Someone has to plan for its obsolescence. Someone has to plan for the next generation of robot that's better and faster, and we can be more efficient per labor hour or per person. It's a great thing to happen. It's absolutely a great thing to happen to be able to increase your efficiency by using better tools or machines. Ultimately, it creates more jobs. Each individual company may be able to employ fewer people, but they get more out of those people. And then there's more companies that do it, or you get more orders because you export and you grow. So that the concept that automation, it's the same with AI. People worry, he's going to put everyone out of business. No, it's going to change things just like Henry Ford changed things. Henry Ford changed things by changing the way people did their jobs and the way things were made. AI is doing the same thing. It's going to change the way jobs are done, but created all sorts of other jobs. Before Henry Ford, were there managers and mid-level managers and supervisors, people with higher skills and organizational skills before Henry Ford? No. It was an agrarian economy in custom manufacturing. But once Henry Ford built his factories, they're like, all right, well, I need a supervisor here. It needs to be a smarter guy, or I need to train someone to be. All right, now I need someone that knows how to make things efficient. Well, let's find a smart guy to do that, and we'll promote someone and train someone. So it created a whole new class of workers. just like tech is doing with AI. It's creating a whole new class of workers. The same thing's going to happen with Pedro. While you're off, I was giving a manufacturing example of the people protesting. One person was like, showed a picture of Porsche's new factory where it's entirely automated. Not entirely, but like to the point of Tesla's thing. And
yeah, huge portion of it.
Yet they still employ lots of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the skill level has gone up from, instead of, a trained human being wasting their time turning a screw like that is not a good use of labor. Having a machine go and having that person now know how to program that machine, maintain it, update it, plan for its obsolescence, plan for the next model to come in, is a much better use of it, and you get way more output per worker. A little background on the manufacturing process when you're gone. I hope I didn't put everyone to sleep there.
No, man. Listen, the Marines understand that. The Marines get this.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. Look, you gotta pivot and you gotta know what to blow up and where to blow up. No, I was just joking. The reason I said that because once we started seeing the Marines and Trump and Elon Musk, and I'm just trying to get the algorithm in the Rumble algorithm to kick in a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Hoorah.
Trump. What up, Trump? What up, dog?
I did the Ice Raid broadcast the other day, and they had a guest on who, interestingly enough, is a fellow YouTuber, but a very small little channel. And he's an ex-Marine. No, I'm sorry, he's not an ex-Marine. He's a Marine. You're never an ex-Marine.
You're never an ex-Marine. Once a Marine.
He's a retired Marine.
There you go.
And
he want to come and kill you.
But he's from the Dominican Republic. He emigrated to the U.S. legally from the Dominican Republic 30 years ago. And they was getting mixed up in some stuff in the U.S. with the people from back home and said, this isn't right for me. I came here to the U.S. to succeed, not to do the same dumb shit I was doing at home. And he said, I'm going in the Marines. And he was in the Marines, and he said, totally changed my life. He said, well, thankfully I didn't get killed in a war, but it totally changed my life, and for the better. And he said, I did it the American way. I came here, I made myself better, and I used every available tool, including the U.S. government's thing called the military, and made myself a better person. He said, otherwise I would have been a poor kid on the street in the Dominican, or I might have wound up in the joint here in the U.S.
Yeah. The Marines, the military is a way to give you a good base. There are many rich people now that use the military to get out of a small town or get out of a circumstance where they just couldn't really get out of it apart from doing something illegal because of the environment in which they live. And if you sign up for the military, I mean, you could just be a cook or,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I have a friend of mine
guy.
Yeah, or a yeoman, or someone who does, the finances in the back, who make sure that you get paid up front, right? And you can use that to travel around, understand the world, I had a friend of mine from Baltimore, good friend of mine. We called him Sparks, and good guy. He watched my back on my first tour because kind of was a little green, a little novice as a person, and so he kind of just watched my back. Older, he's younger than me, but just grew up in an area that was very, Baltimore. You got to keep your eyes open. And I grew up in a small town, still very dangerous and ghetto, but people said what they were going to do. It was like, if you say something, you better do it. And so it was very interesting that he watched my back. The reason why I'm saying that is he was stuck in Baltimore. He really wasn't. I mean, he didn't have a lot of other options out there, right? And he joined the Coast Guard, and he went to Seattle, went to a bunch of other places around the country, learned, became very ingenuitous. It's ingenuitous, yeah.
Well,
And as an individual, Yeah, that's you know how you had Bush's lingo? It's Pedro lingo, right?
There's a
Uh,
long list.
there's a long list. Oh yeah. By the way, my tongue may seem a little blue, seems a little weird. I did a little bit of methylene blue before I came on to kind of get my energy up and running. And
Pedro, don't tell the whole
yeah.
world you just bought stuff from Walter White on Breaking Bad and is blue mad.
Methylene blue. It's not the word in.
It's
Just
suspicious to me.
whatever. Yeah, I just upset. I just put my foot in my mouth. But anyhow, so I just giving you a heads up. That's why the tongue is blue.
Pedro, before the show,
Yes,
we were talking, and you asked me about Tucker Carlson's interview with Scott Besser. And I remarked that the Trump administration had actually been doing a kind of a decent job messaging, but it really wasn't getting picked up by the people that need to pick it up, meaning the major media to get it out to people. And on the background here, I think you sent me this, didn't you? Or you posted it, and I found it on your Twitter feed.
Yep.
It's Mark Rubio with a banger of a press conference in which I remarked to Pedro, it was like Michael Corleone of The Godfather, right before when he's talking about taking out the heads of the other 5 families and going and taking this family legit business after that.
Yeah.
He has this deadpan voice, and he says, "This is what we're gonna do," and you get it. It's a great interview, and I'll spare you from the whole thing.
Watch it. I'd say go to my page and watch
feed
it. It is
and watch it.
So good.
And to summarize it, though, the reporter asks a leading question, like the economies are crashing because of tariffs, and he just goes, hold it. Let's just stop that false premise that no economy has crashed, because markets have gone down because they need to. They need to go down because the tariffs are going to cause a realignment of companies, and any company that has a big tariff risk, Wall Street's going to sell it right now because they're like, oh, they're going to do worse, so they want to be the first to sell it before the numbers come in badly for them. But other companies, trust me, the research arms. This is Tom speaking now. The research arms in all of these big investment companies and hedge funds and big banks, they're massive. There's shit tons of people combing the markets right now for companies that don't have tariff exposure.
Yep.
And then Rubio goes to imply that just watch what happens. The money's going to go somewhere that people are selling off the markets that have tariff exposure. It's going to turn around, and you'll see our plans start to work. And he said it so matter of factly. I was like, it's good. He just shuts down the reporter and made this crazy statement.
Well, that's what needs to happen. I mean,
Absolutely.
I hate to say, but Carolyn, what's her name? Why am I forgetting her name? The girl who does the press, the Washington press release.
Levitt.
Levitt. Yeah, Levitt. Miss Levitt, love her, hate her, whatever you want. You may think she's a total douche or whatever. I'm not going to talk to that, whatever. But here's the thing I do like about her. She is really informed, and she just says, that's nonsense. Like, what are you talking about? You're literally trying to fearmonger. And that's one thing I did not like about what we saw with Biden, as well as Trump's first press secretary or press release person. I don't know, talker. But the thing is it's just they allow these reporters to say just crazy lambastic things that just is like extremely leading, so that they can sit there and get somebody to talk about something that is like a half truth, and then the other half is just extremely exaggerated. And so now it's like we're finally kind of getting back to just center of like, get out of the craze, man, and can we just like center up and be like, all right, there we go. All right. Like, so I love how Rubio was just matter of fact, very clear about this is what's most likely. I don't want to say most. It's like, this is what's going to happen. And we're going to get out of this bizarro world and of bizarre world of finance and allow like real finance to actually happen without inflation and money printing. Right. we're not going to have to worry and rely on the Federal Reserve to really save America, but we can actually save ourselves, and the rest of the world will be able to save themselves. That's the other part. They're not going to be reliant on the Federal Reserve of their nation, but we can actually, this is the point of this. And honestly, we talked about, our leaders need to be smart because there've been numerous administrations who've talked this talk, and those administrations kind of got suppressed and shut down, and that's all I'm gonna say. Alexander Hamilton, hey, like you said, it didn't work out too well for him, like. So,
someone challenges you to a duel, just say no. Your honor will survive it.
Yeah, just be like, nah, I ain't do this, dude. You don't want to know something really funny? I had a situation happen to me the other day, and I literally was just like, okay, I don't care. Like, somebody got in my face about something about my friend, and the individual isn't all there mentally, and I was just like, and I started feeling myself like in anger, like, who is this? And then I looked at him and I said, it's not worth it. Like, I can fight. I know the feeling, but I hate, like, my hands get all sore. Like, it's not worth it.
Man, I just bruise my hands on guys' faces all the time. It's just.
Dude, it hurts like for days. And then your cortisol level's extremely high. You get all swollen. Your back gets all swollen because of the fight. Now, granted, the testosterone, if you win, shoots up, but it's just not worth it, man. And then you always get clocked. You're like, oh.
I've been in one fight in my life, and I clocked him, and he clocked me.
It hurts. For days after.
My hand hurt, and my chin hurt, or my cheek.
It's just not fun, man. Like, let it go.
I pushed my sister down.
Let it go. Let it go. What's up?
Let's see. A guy in the neighborhood pushed my sister down onto the ground.
No.
Like right in front of me.
You have to defend that, though.
And I was like,
you have to defend that.
You can't do that. I said, help her up and say you're sorry. He goes, I'm not apologizing. I walked over and I popped him right in the face. And I was a little kid. I was aged, I don't know, 14 or something. And then I made the mistake of looking at my sister.
Oh, no.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that hurt. Made the mistake of looking away from the guy that you punched. Anyway, he ran off. Poor Greggy.
Yep.
Obviously, later next year we're all friends again and stuff like that.
Isn't that always how it is though? Like, some of the close friends are the guys you fought with. So, who knows? We might be friends with China.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, that's my sister. I'm the one who can push her.
Yeah, in fact, he's the one that had to run home. So fuck him.
Exactly, dude. Where's he at right now? We'll go find him, dude. Let's get him, dude. Let's get Gregory, huh? Pushing girls down. What are you, 5 years old? He probably was. You guys were probably 5, right?
Right. My sister, I guess I was 14. I remember what house we were living in, and that's a certain age range.
Oh yeah. Well, it was real interesting. But jumping back to some of the stuff we were just saying here, let's talk about crude oil. So we're seeing the crude oil drop here, like what we were talking about. We're watching it. I said, all right, guys, we should expect to see to come down to that 55, 45 area. We saw the sell off, the gap down, the push up today. And so I'm still expecting this trade to continue down into the 55, 45 area here. In additionally to it, wow, that was really hard to say. Expect a pullback up into this level here. So let's make sure we're following. We can see here how the 8-period moving average was acting as a form of resistance. We saw that the 200 period came in, acted as strong resistance, and then we saw the sell-off. And so one of the things I am expecting the pullback here is because there's not a lot of supply wicks here as we were coming down. So I'd expect us to come back, tap that, and then see the continuation down into the areas that I've been talking now for almost, was it 5 months? 5 months here? I thought we were going to hit this level down here. Actually, I even think I started talking about it in October of 24.
Pedro, what time frame you have the daily chart? Why do you
Yeah.
think in this market the price of crude has dropped so much? People are saying we're not going to use as much because the economy's crashing.
That you nailed it. Yeah, that's what I think. Absolutely, and a lot of people are expecting that as we start to see the contraction. And again, I listen to a lot of talking heads, but one of the people that I really love to listen to is a guy named the Euro Dollar. His name is Euro Dollar. You can
Yeah,
check him
you've
out
mentioned him. Yeah.
yeah, and he really goes in and talks about everybody else's thought process, and then he pulls out the numbers and goes, look, these are the real numbers. He pulls it from the old metrics, and then he delineates between the old metrics and the new metrics and says, all right, this is good, this isn't good. I don't like this. This is actually false, and you're lying, and like absolutely. So I really like what he does there. Another guy you can go through, and I really like him a lot. It's called Shadow Statistics. He's another one I like pulling from. But I do listen probably to about 6 or 7 different leaning. 2 on the left, 2 on the far left, 2 on the right, and 2 on the far right, typically, is what I try to get a hold of so I can get a good base of what I'm looking at. I know, Tom, you look at your own stuff, but I just think it's one of those things. And then I also have, other news sources. I have about 20 plus news sources that I pull from. I try to look at also BRICS information, what's happening there from their perspective. People are against it. People who are for China, people are against China. So you can get a good understanding of what's actually happening. Yeah, actually quite a few.
Like,
so you have Russian.
The Chinese are for themselves, but
well, also we didn't talk about this. I think I mentioned it, but South Korea, Japan, and China all just kind of came together last week and shook hands like that. Like that cross-arm shake. There's a picture of them, and this. People don't understand the hatred. And again, I'm pulling this from multiple areas, but one of the people I'm going to point you to is Tom Bilyeu. He has a podcast, and he does a really good job looking at it from different views, right? And he tries to sit as a liberal, as a conservative, and really try to see it from his other perspectives, so you can really see a well-rounded view. So Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory, go check him out. I think his show is great, and it gives you a good understanding. He brought up this union that actually happened last week between these arch enemies, almost like Palestinians and the Jews. Like, we're talking that how much of a hatred, but this extends over 100+ years easily. So this is something that we've seen, and they've come together, and we're probably going to see some really big influential pushes in the manufacturing if these guys really decide to come together. If America is smart, we need to figure out a way to bring a wedge between those three, because if they can centralize all of Asia, then America, you've got to bring a wedge. You got to figure out a way to bring a wedge.
Well, right now that wedge is Taiwan, because none of these guys want to see China go to war and eat Taiwan, and because they know that someone else is next. Once a war machine gets going, someone's next. Stop. So they have to war game that out. What comes after Taiwan? Forget just there's the geopolitical talk you can have about the U.S. would never let that happen. Blah blah blah. Assume it happens. Taiwan gets eaten by China. Yep. Who's next? Philippines? Not going to go
I would expect that. What's more interesting is that when I think about what's actually happening in that area with a lot of America, like, we're trying to position, but from an actual leveraged area, we're over leveraged just already, right? And so if we really start to push a war there, it's going to be scary. We've also have some banging new technology when it comes to war. The laser thing.
There's so much new awesome stuff,
dude. Like, it's like, and then did you see the release of that robot dog or like horse thing? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that, but I saw the release of the new drone subs. And basically what they can do is they send 40 or 50 of them or 100 of them over just to go sit on on the bottom in the Taiwan Strait, whatever that strait is called. And they can sit there for like 10 years and not do anything. And then they press a button, and it just goes and attaches itself to a ship that it sees overhead and explodes. And then they have the lasers that can shoot down drones now.
I mean, we literally are living in Star Wars.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's like, I am not your father.
Pew, pew, pew.
Hey,
Dude.
Pedro, I've got to take a break and make a quick phone call here, so I'll hand it over to you for a minute here.
Alrighty then. My people, what's up? It is good to have you. Shout out to our guys listening to us over on YouTube. Thank you so much for having us. I think we got 2 over there. Thank you. And we got, how many do we have over here on Rumble? We got 5. Awesome. Glad to have you guys there. You guys could do us a quick favor. Hit the like button. That always helps us out so much. Come in if you guys could. You don't need to make a profile. You just jump on in. Or I think you do need to make somewhat of a profile over on Rumble by signing in. And then in that, you can actually communicate and talk. Let's ask us questions. In addition to that, you can also make fun of me. Absolutely. Got a big nose here, you know what I'm saying? I've got the gray hair. You can make fun of the long, hair as well, as you can see. Boom. You can say it's just a bunch of ragdoll hair over here. So either way, appreciate everyone, you guys. So if you could just log in, and that would really help us out a lot over at Rumble. You guys rock the mic. Appreciate every one of you guys watching us. All right, so let's check out crypto here and see what's actually happening in the markets of crypto, because we are a crypto show. You can see here with BTC, we're watching it very much play like the traditional finance. We're watching pretty much all of the crypto market kind of bleed a little here in relationship to what's happening with the tariff market. And you're just like, why are we like, why is it even falling? Because we're now attached to the technology index within the market, which is the NASDAQ. And so right now, as they're buying a lot of our assets that we have here in Bitcoin or in assets or in the crypto sphere, they are then putting that asset that they've just purchased, the coin, and they're going to start and they're putting it in and they're setting up a new system, but it's attached to literally the NASDAQ. So as the NASDAQ goes up and goes down, so does Bitcoin go up and down. Hence, the rest of the market follows in crypto, like the main godfather, which is Bitcoin. So it's really important to understand why we're actually seeing this. And in it, we're watching Bitcoin. Like I said, I expect to see it come down into the 67 area here, and then the next area would be that 60,000 to 59,000. In addition to that, I'd also expect us to actually see some really kind of big falls in like XRP coming back down here into that $1.40 area to that $1.30. Let me go and remove this area. We had a nice little bounce and we consolidated, but we're now seeing the sell-off. So I expect us to see it kind of come down into these lower levels here as we start to play. So that 140, that 129 area here is what I'm expecting to see with XRP. And additionally to that, BNB, I expect it to actually come back down to that 400, 350 area here. And in additionally to that, if it does come down into that area, I think we'll see a big bounce. I think this is going to be the line in the sand for BNB. We've already seen it multiple times come in, tap into it, and then push back up. So I think this might, like I said, that 414 to 350 area will act as a good support. So if you're looking to be buying it, I think that's a good area to be waiting for. At least that's what I'm going to be looking for. So obviously you can do what you want to do. Again, we came down to our other area here at that 515 where we're seeing the smaller bounces coming in. So again, this is BNB here. Next one we're going to check out is TRX. Now TRX with it, which is Tron, has been really kind of fun. We've been bouncing off of this area here and we're kind of holding. You can see we came to that 200-day period average. It held above the 200 period moving average, which a lot of other cryptos have not. So again, I really like this area here for myself, purely because TRX is a strong community. Justin Sun is kind of a master troller slash master, like He knows how to get attention to Tron. So it's one of those things that, look, we all know a big portion in crypto is kind of getting eyes on you, and the man knows how to go. He's able to put his money in the right place. I mean, the man bought it's a $150 million banana picture where he then went and ate it. Like this was absolutely insanity. So it's crazy. Tom, you there, buddy? Oh, no, he's still handling business here. And so I just think it's real interesting to sit there and see what we're seeing right now. Now, as we're coming down into this level here, we may see it get down to the 18, but this level here between that, 21 cent to 18 cents, I think this will be the last stand before it really puts that next high in, simply because it's just holding strong if it does come into these levels here. Dogecoin still playing the same way. I've found it really interesting to sit there and watch Doge move, because it really, again, acts in conjunction with Bitcoin and how it moves. Is one of the large scale ones. So it's one of those things. We saw it come down almost to that 1259 area, or that 1259 to the 12012 area. Really nice area for you to pick up some of the Doge. Matic playing the same way, coming down to our lower levels here. It's still looking weak here. We potentially could see a sell-off here down to these lower levels. But more importantly, as we're watching it come down, we're watching the volume step into, which is kind of nice. So that means that it's getting picked up. Somebody's buying it. You see a lot more green than red. And so even though we're seeing a drop in the market, okay, we're seeing a drop in the market here, right? We're seeing a pickup of buyers. You can see there, pickup of buyers, right? And so to me, when I see something like that, it communicates to me, hey, we are about to go up, but we want to drop the market as much as we can. So you're going to see this thing kind of drop. The key is when we see it get above, and remember how I said, all right, XRP is about to explode. This is kind of what was happening with it, right? As it was moving down or going sideways. So the fact that we're going down on Matic at the 17 cent area, 19 cent area, as it's coming down, you can see that I'm saying we want to see it get above the 8-period moving average with demand wicks. This one did not have demand wicks, right? We saw increase in volume, but not enough demand wicks. That's the wicks at the bottom, right? I want to see like this here, right? Come down, and then you can see right here, increase in volume with big demand wicks, those bottom wicks, as we start to progress up. That's what I'm looking for. Something of this nature where it goes up, comes down, finds support, and then once it starts to get going, we start to see it go rally. So that's what I'm looking for. And it'll look something kind of like this. Maybe come down to here, potentially come down to here, come back up here, and we know what this looks like. And then boom, right? Boom, 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 pop. Right? So I'm definitely looking to be personally buying up Matic as is coming down from 17 to that 9 cent area. These are looking hot to trot. Ooh, yeah, baby, let's go. All right. Oop, it did it again. Alrighty then. Shout out to all you guys that are watching us over on YouTube. Also, Rumble. Look, if you guys have any questions you want me to go look at, please shout out, send me your views or your thoughts on it, and that would be really awesome. Okay. We got 5 people watching. It's nice over on Rumble. Appreciate every one of you guys again, as well as on YouTube. And we've actually seen an increase of people watching us over on X. So thank you for coming in and watching us. Appreciate every one of you guys as well. You guys rock the mic. I don't care what they say about you. I like X. Okay. Just playing. Just playing.
Hey, Pedro.
What's up, bud?
Thanks for holding on the fort. Thanks for going over Matic there and showing that there may be hope for this. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
It just money that's come out of that thing. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, I was talking to Mrs. Striking, and then for those of you that didn't know, our little doggy had to have an operation last week. We have a toy poodle. There was a growth, and it came back today as cancer.
I'm sorry, man.
But they got it early, and they do not believe it has metastasized. It was not deep in her. It was under subcutaneous level of the skin.
Yeah.
And unhappy that they used the C word, but happy that, fortunately, Mrs. Striking was just playing with the dog and was like, hey, there's a little bump here that wasn't here a little while ago. Took it to the doctor, and they said, all right, let's keep an eye on it. Let's see if it grows or not. 2 weeks later, she's like, it's twice the size. And doc's like, come on in.
Yeah.
And they biopsied it, and it came back inconclusive because that's what happens when it's urgent. It doesn't work. And so they said, all right, Natasha, or Mrs. Striking, pushed hard back and said, let's get this thing out of it because it could be a growing cancer. And she actually went around to another hospital, said same thing. And they're like, I need someone to operate on this dog now. And they said, all right, we'll do it. If you insist.
Yeah, we'll take your money for it.
Right. And then they're like, and they were waiting for it. And the doc said after the thing, said, I went wide around that thing and took out a lot of stuff. So she's going to be sore for a while. And it came back, I just learned just on now, that little dog has cancer.
Oh, but I'm glad that they were able to get it, sounds like.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Good.
Probably, and it's not in an area where there are lymph nodes and all that stuff to cause things to spread. It was fortunately in an area that the doctor said it likely hasn't spread at all. We'll call it stage 1.
Nice. That's good, man. I'm glad. I'm really glad for her.
You know, that poor little dog. Those toy poodles are cute. It's like a living teddy bear. That's what it is. If your teddy bear that you grew up with was alive, like the movie Ted, you know, or
Yo, I don't know if it's like Ted. Epic movie, dog. You talking about the most epic movie ever. Mark Wahlberg and Teddy.
It was great. But the
Teddy
dog is the
too.
cutest thing ever. But it's the product of, many hundreds of years of inbreeding. And bad stuff goes on in the insides of those dogs. And there's no more teeth in the dog anymore. There's bad shit. But it's the cutest goddamn thing ever. So
He doesn't have, or she doesn't have teeth?
they had to keep pulling them out because toy poodles, their teeth just start rotting. What they did is the maxial something surgeon or whatever they're called said, because all dogs ultimately were wolves, and wolves, like humans, have the ability to fight plaque on their teeth. They secrete things like hydrogen peroxide and other types of stuff. But somehow that got inbred out of a lot of small dogs somewhere back in the day. And so they have amazing problems with their teeth. And those dog dentists, they rake you over the coals, man. They know it. They say, oh, you got a little doggy, huh? Well, here's my card. You're going to need me in a few years. And sure enough, no matter how much you brush your teeth and wipe stuff and all of a sudden you're like, that dog got stanky breath. $10,000. $10,000. Anyway, not to go off on a sidetrack, but as I came back on, Pedro was thanking our viewers on the various platforms and all that, including you guys on X. Thanks for watching us on X. We've had a bunch of people watch on the old LinkedIn here today, giving it a shot again.
Yeah, I love it. What's interesting is really that the Japanese prime minister is actually trying to come over to negotiate tariffs with Trump. It's actually going to be really interesting. I hope that there is, because like we were talking about earlier, right, that Japan and China are kind of becoming buddy and buddy. And so if we can figure out a way to go through and make sure that that doesn't happen, it's going to be really important. Really important. Give me one second. I got to
dying
that.
Cats, ladies and
the
gentlemen.
Dying Cats. But it's a very beautiful sonnet, though. All right, I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a good show today. We're going on a little longer than planned, but that's all right. We got stuff to talk about today. The markets going absolutely batshit crazy here. But in a good way. As they say, the day traders like Pedro, they're getting paid. Getting paid. Why? Because there's volatility in the markets. Volatility does not always have to be super random. Volatility can bring trading patterns and setups that people look for and wait for. And wait like this for months to happen. Like this giant dip that happened today was people like Pedro and other day traders have been sitting back just going, they literally been waiting for it to happen. And when it happened, I was up last night, Pedro, I was up last night watching it happen, and I couldn't stay up any longer. I've had a busy weekend, and I was tired. And on Saturday night, I may have been overserved with my brother-in-law and sister and stuff. So
drink a lot of extra.
Right. So on Sunday, I'm like, I can't stay up, but I'm watching it, and everyone's like saying, hey, you know, the market's going to heat up sometime it's Sunday night because of China. And I was like, I got to go to sleep. Went to sleep, and I said, I'm going to get up early and look at it. It didn't matter. By the time I woke up, the damage had been done. And then with the volatility, traders understand it. That they know these things are coming, and they plan their ways to take advantage of them. And unfortunately, I did not this morning. I did not. I watched it, and I watched what happened. I watched the trade setups. I watched the reversal come in, and then the anti-reversal come in, and and then all of a sudden you just see the volume drop off, and kind of stability just kind of comes right back in. Stability for crazy markets. I don't mean stability in stock markets.
Well, what's interesting is there is at one point in time that the average, this is key, average trading range on the S&P 500 was 86 points. 86 points. All right. In a daily move, this is key. In a daily move, the average movement has been about 100 to about 120. Actually, you know what I'm saying? And on a low day, it would be in the 80s. Okay, that's a whole entire day move. You know what I'm saying? That's a big deal. You know, that is literally 65-minute candles. I think that's correct, right? 5 times 10. 5, you know, what is that? 5 times, and then 8 or 80. Yeah, it'd be 80. 85-minute candles. And typically the average is between 5 points and 11 points. There was a point in time this morning where the market for about, what was it? From 7:30, from 6:30, it was ranging about 35. Okay, 35 points every 5-minute candle moving. Talking huge moves, dude. Like, I mean, you talk about the surgical skill set you needed to have on this. And sure enough, man, this thing, I mean, skyrocket. And it got, I mean, that's just, to me, that's insanity.
One of the things I was watching, a guy posted his trade. He said 1,800 ticks on the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
He said in my trade, he said 1,800. He said he said sometimes I could go 6 months to make 1,800 ticks.
Yes.
Or longer, or all year.
Yes.
He said one trade.
Yeah. Dude, it was I sat there and I was like, this is nuts. This is absolutely bonkers, the movement here. And I mean, your stops had to be smart. You had to be a little extra, making sure it's coming directly down into an area. You're waiting for it to confirm before it goes up or goes down. Dude, even the small range candles were sitting at 30 points. Okay, so let me explain it like this. The market moves about 1 to 2% of the daily value of it. So, example, Bitcoin. Oh, actually, better, I can just do it like this right here. So, most people understand what the Dow Jones is. So, I'm going to put it like this. Dow Jones is better. Okay. So Dow Jones is the top 50 stocks or the top 30 stocks in the country of the United States. And what happens is they bring those things together, and when they all move, it moves the Dow Jones. There's an average that we follow. Okay, that average is 30 right now. The average price of the Dow Jones, right, is $38,000 or 38,000 points. It's going to move. It's going to move 1 to 2%, but typically between 1% is what it moves at of an up and down movement for the day. Okay, that would basically be 300 points. Okay, 380 points. You know, just move the decimal over. Remember this in grade school. Move the decimal over to, you move it over 1 to the left, and that's 10%. Move it over 2, and that's 1%. That'd be $381 up, you know, as a movement. Okay, so it's going to move every day up and down for that. Now that you understand that, let's go to the S&P 500. We're going to do that again. You can see here that the market here was 5,100, right? So we're going to move this over 2 points, and it's going to be 51 points, which is the average for that day that it should move. This is the S&P 500. Now, on really big days, it may move 2%, maybe even 3%. I mean, that's crazy move on just an average day, okay? So it may move 100, 150 points, right? If price was here. It's the same thing as price goes up. Let's say when price was up at 6,100, right? It should move between 61 points to 120 points in a day, right? 1 to 2%. While we were trading down, the average was about 100 to about 120. So that was the movement. I'm building this all up so you can actually understand the craziness of this. Okay. And when you look at the 5-minute candle, typically the 5-minute candle and all of this, you can see, look, and we can just do it just like this, right? In the middle of the day, which is going to be right here, you can see price point was 190. It dropped down to 176. That's about, what is that? 15 points, right? 15, 11 points, which is still a big move for your 5-minute candle. But it's still, you know, that's kind of where we're sitting at right now, right? Same thing in the middle of the day. You can see these kind of are all roughly around the same price. And was at 68, or we'll say 69 for easy numbers, and down to 60. So 60, so 9 points, 10 points, 10 to 15 point move on a 5-minute candle. Okay. Now, today, look at this. We opened up, we gapped down. Okay, one of the biggest bet gaps down. I mean, just ridiculous. We gapped down. It ended on Friday, okay, at 50.63 and gapped down to 49. I mean, 49. I mean, like a 100-point gap, right? And then it ensues the craziness. You can see here on this 5-minute candle, this thing went up. I think this was like 15 points or something like that. Boom. But the reason why I bring this up is we see this thing start to move crazy. And you can see it starts to, I mean, from this bottom here, from 48.41 to the peak here, 48.41. I mean, it's 48.41 at 60 points. 60 points. And one candle. Remember, we talked about the market whole entire day move should be 60 to 120 points. As it starts to progress, look, this huge candle goes from 96 or 49 or 49.60 all the way up to 5. We're 49. Like, we're talking over 100+ points and one 5-minute candle. But I think I mean, this. I saw that. I was like, is that real? Like, I literally thought, because sometimes your PC will mess up the actual buy numbers and it'll throw off the candle. So I went to the actual CME and I had to sit there and say, is that a real candle? Like, I was like, that can't be. Sure enough, I was like, what the malarkey is going on? Like, this is straight up. This is crazy town, right? Like this is absolutely. I mean, in one. So I just so you understand, for this type of move to actually happen on a 5-minute candle, okay, that means that the 5,000, like this right here, because typically, right, the market will move that one, like I said, 120, and typically you have the 10%, or 10%, or not 10%, 10 point move, right, which is typically 10% of the market movement. 10 to 5% of the daily move is what the 5-minute candle should move. So if we take, so you can understand that the S&P would have literally had been about 50,000 points. It would, for an average.
Oh, I see what you mean. If that was an average candle, the S&P would be 50,000.
50,000 points. Like this is the craziness. I mean, the size of this thing is like, we're talking. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. That's what she said. Sorry, that was horrible. But it is crazy. I saw that and I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't. I mean, I was just shocked that we were moving at 30 points. Like I was like, okay, this is getting fun, right? 30 points. This is nice. Boom, boom, it's moving up. When that thing shot up, Doc, I said, okay, I got to get out. Like it was one of those moments when I saw this, I said, I'm getting out. I can't like there's no way this thing is not going to come down. Like that's just like this right here is literally a daily move. This is a normal.
Welcome Carmen Crypto to the house. Carmen Crypto to the house. Carmen. Woo, woo, woo. Carmen coming to us from Las Vegas.
What's up, man? It's Carmen. It's good to have you, sis. What up? When are we gonna have you back on here so we can talk smack to each other and have a good old time? But yeah, it's real interesting.
I was watching the Bitcoin chart doing its thing here, and I was looking at it and doing something else at the same time and looking at it, and I was talking on the phone, and I see it's at 77,000 something, blah blah blah, and then I turn and I look at it. And I'm like, did that just say 81,000? And I mean, there was only a period of 2 minutes between my two glances at the computer. Mm-hmm. And then it, like, one guy's exchange, it wicked up to 84,000. I mean,
oh, those longs must have been so happy to.
the shorts, and just like, no! And then it was boom right down. And so it's like. All right, I get it in crypto. It's not as big as market. But on the S&P 500, the money is vastly larger than in Bitcoin. And nobody's holding. In the S&P 500, nobody's just like, oh, I'm a forever holder. They're all there to trade and make money on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the entire effect of the market cap is always in play. Obviously, a lot of times there are hedges there against other things, and people don't mess with them. But that's the point. Most of the money in the S&P 500 is available to be traded that day, unlike Bitcoin. And how do they get together and make those, like, who are the super big money people that just said, we need to move this market 100 ticks? Or whatever that big number was on that.
JP Morgan.
And I mean, what is like the effing CEO? Like Jamie Dimon himself calls and says, buy, motherfuckers. Sell, motherfuckers. Buy.
Well, I want to say like that. They have trading floors. Like, right. And then they also have algorithms that run
But to move that amount of money, someone at the top has to authorize that go button.
Absolutely.
Like every trading desk has its limits. They're like, well, we can trade $100 million credit line all day. But then to move that is hundreds of billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. I wonder what the S&P volume is today. Can you pull that with the trading volume?
Oh yeah, I absolutely can. Give me 1 second.
I forget. Is the S&P 500 native to the Mercantile Exchange, the CME, or was it the one of the other places that they bought it from?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I missed.
Was the S&P 500 contract? Was it originally part of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or was it part of the Chicago Board of Options, or the Chicago Board of Trade, or something like that?
I actually could not tell you. I really don't know. I probably should learn
I
that
can't
stuff.
remember when I worked in New York, we just called it Chicago. We didn't say,
Yeah.
we didn't mention which exchange it was on.
All right, so you can see here, and this is what's kind of crazy. So the S&P 500 daily volume is not even that much. It's actually about, I mean, and comparatively, like
How
if you
can
look
that
at
be?
big, dude, I'm literally looking at it right now, dude.
Yeah.
Like Friday, Thursday was bigger. Remember, oh, I brought this up. I said, expect this to go down. I think it was this day because it was that Thursday or that Friday. And so Monday we were coming down. I said we had a huge buy volume day, but with not it moving. So
The
orders
range
were
was
being
tiny.
met.
Yeah.
Yeah. So orders were being met. That meant
The
that
shorts were coming in. That's what was going on.
that is exactly what was happening. And so they let it in positive, right? Let it go. It gaps up, gap up into supply, which is the weekly, which means there should drop it. Because I'll just show it right here. Boom. So you can see here, this was it right here. We go right here. This is that small wick candle. You can see we gapped up here, which means it's gapping into sellers. Okay, so that means sellers are throwing money into it on top of, so that means shorts are stepping in as it's gapping up into it, which then makes it just goes down. So it was kind of, we actually talked about it here on the market or on the show here. I said we gapped up this week. I expect this to go down. We did talk about this here down to this level. The flash crash that we talk about, I thought we might elongate just a little bit more, but you can see it's coming in. So and we're just hitting moving averages right now. Look, and this is important to pay attention to. Actually, Tommy from Tame the Ark, Futurist. Oh yeah, Tommy from Tame the Ark just hit me up here. I'm sorry, side note. We'll go into that real quick, but he's talking about, he sent this to me and I didn't see it. Shout out to Tommy. If you're watching, it's man, good to have you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hey man, if you could do us a favor, following, drop off our Rumble link into your group, and we need some viewers over there. We're trying to hack the algorithm over there, so I'd appreciate if you could help us out there. That would be dope. All right, so the reason why I bring this up here real quick is this movement today is equivalent of almost a weekly average move, and you can see here it bounced off an area of supply here, or excuse me, demand.
Oh, quick shout out. Hey, Carmen, thanks for joining us. I used the other voice there earlier with the police microphone there, but wanted to reach out properly and say thanks for joining us, Carmen. Sorry, Pedro.
No, it's okay. So as we're we always talk about this. If it goes up on Monday, what should we see? We should expect it to be down by the end of the week. So don't get too caught up in this huge rally up, unless. And we're at this point where if they come and they drop interest rates, it's not going to do well for the market already, because now interest rates act almost as like we want to see interest rates drop to the point. Oh, we can talk about, well, we're going to be doing Technical Tuesday tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a topic I wanted to flesh out with you, and I thought it would be good for Technical Tuesday, but it's regarding the pricing of, with the market tanking right now, and the pricing of bonds. It seems to be beneficial to the government right now.
Absolutely, and this is the reason why. Long story short, U.S. dollar is going down. As the U.S. dollar is going down, it then makes it advantageous for people to do business here in America. If people are doing business here in America, we are going to generate real income coming in as things happening. It then correlates to interest rates, because interest rates, as people want to do business here, we don't necessarily need to have a huge amount of interest. Like it's silly for interest rates to go up. You want to even, where I've talked about that level on it. So I'm just going to make this real quick, and we'll flesh it out tomorrow. But as it's happening, we need business here in America is going to start asking for loans. Okay, as we start to get going, that loan difference should be about even what we're sending. I've talked about a like a 3% interest rate, potentially 2.5 percent interest rate in the beginning as things start getting going, and then from there we will see it expand here, and then because there is a less want for U.S. dollars globally, okay, and that's happening, right? Because whenever there's trade, you need to trade in US dollars.
Right.
And so that need for trade, because everything's slowing down, trade is going to slow down throughout the world. And as this is happening, we're then going to see people want to buy into America, seeing bonds go up and interest rates go down. And again, there's going to be this fluctuation. Now, on the other part, and we talked about this 2 years ago, and it was crazy. You're like, what are you talking about? I said, I expect to see Circle, also UST Tether, to start buying huge amounts of bonds. And I bet you America is going to rely on who to buy the bonds? Who said it?
Pedro, Garcia.
Because I told you, it's more efficient. It is more efficient. And because it is more efficient, sooner or later, remember this whole entire analogy of Kodak? Remember, I was like, look, Kodak was a great company, but it wasn't efficient to digital cameras. And they adopted it too late. Crypto is more efficient. And because crypto is more efficient, it will be adopted, and it's going to throw everything off. And obviously we've talked about earlier in the show that Larry Fink is 100% for digital assets because it is more efficient. And so because of that, we will see almost like this. It's just going to do this right here. Boom, drop.
I wish I had my sound effects
and so
machine on.
So there's a lot here going on, and I am simplifying this. And honestly, I don't have the vernacular dexterity to really even communicate efficiently. So if you want,
actually, that was pretty good.
Well, you're right. I do, but I don't. Here's the thing. I get boring to people. And as soon as I start talking financial talk, you all leave. So I try to keep this as simple as possible. I just swear, like I keep it as simple as possible. I was talking to the CEO of Bitcoin.com. Shout out to Corbin. What up, dog? All those guys over there. Good to have you guys. Boom. Bitcoin, like I said on the show, might be coming down to 5,000-10,000. Just throwing it out there. Boom, boom. What's up? All right, keep it going. Okay, so
now you know why no one's watching. It's just called Bitcoin in the go broke zone.
No, man, I told them to prepare for it. Save up capital, save up dry powder, and when we start reaching that, buy up at those levels, and then all of a sudden, y'all the biggest bosses literally in crypto because y'all holding that much BTC. Anyhow, so jumping back to what I was saying, as soon as I start to talk super financial stuff, y'all leave. And so I got to keep this very entertaining and say, are you not entertained? So, yeah. Glad to have all you guys over at, listen, I really love, the only reason why I do this is so I can connect and really connect with the guys over on our social media. I don't need to really make these trades and make all this, because it actually takes away from my trading time and I lose money doing this show, but I like it. I really like it. What's up?
So do I. And I lost money dealing on the effing phone this morning. Well, I didn't. It was the economic opportunity I lost. I didn't lose money. You're right.
What do you mean?
Because I was on the phone this morning dealing with an issue, and so I wasn't able to concentrate on the market. So I wasn't able to participate in the glory of this morning.
Yeah, it was nice.
And you can't tell someone on the other end, oh, it's your fault.
Yeah,
I missed out. The other person doesn't want to hear that, but it is their fault because
it's not. And plus, it's just rude, and we can't do that. So I don't want to do it. That's just rude. By the way, I just realized do you have Bitcoin.com logo? Are we? Like, I just realized you do.
I put it up there to. Remember, I said I'm going to do a test, and I read their tweets and stuff like that. And then I flipped it out and I sent it to you. I forgot to take it down.
Oh, absolutely. It looks really good. I didn't realize how good. So I need to send that to Corv and say, hey, but again, that's just kind of stuff that's left over. So we need to flush it out between me and you. And that was still kind of like we'll see what happens. But let's go ahead here real quick and kind of look at some really interesting stuff here in the market, because this market is still showing a lot of strength, people buying. And so that in itself is not a bad thing, right? Like for me, we need those fluctuations, right? But here's the most important thing to pay attention to on the cash market. If we close below the low of today, of Friday, all right, the futures is going to be different. So we're looking at the cash market here. We're going to change things up a little. We want to stay honestly above that 50 or 50.69 area here, which is Friday's low. If we can stay above that and go up, then come down, this will be more of a stair step drop versus a jump off the cliff drop. So it's going to be really interesting to be paying attention there. We came back up. We're finding, like, when we drop, we're going to pull back into this 100 to 89 area. So we're going to see what's going to happen. If we don't, which I actually don't expect us to honestly stay above here. Trump's already released some crazy statements saying, yo, if y'all want to act tough, I'll just keep dropping this mother. Because here's the part that most people don't realize. Most Americans, right, who got Trump into office don't really have like real skin in the game when it comes to the market. 15, a large portion, 15 to 10% of the upper echelon, the rich, own stock. The rest of the working class, like 80 to 85, 90%, don't own a ton of money except in their 401ks. And they can't retire because it's too expensive to live. So if the stock market falls, they're not sweating it.
Right.
And so that's why Bassett said, look, I ain't stressing about the rich people losing cash. America's been getting crushed. The American people have been getting crushed based off of this. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens here as we start to move. But again, that price point, we got to stay above that 50.69 area, which is Friday's low close on the cash market. So if you want to look at the SPX, you can check it out there as we start to really kind of get going. So we'll see what happens. All righty. Tom,
I've got the Trump tweet here about China up on the screen behind me.
Yeah, you sent that to me. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to send that. Did Tommy send that to you?
No, I just called up Truth Social.
Oh, okay. Boom, boom. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's vintage Trump. Yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34%, top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidies of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation. Despite my warning that any country that retaliates against our retaliatory tariffs above and beyond their existing tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs. Therefore, if China does withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, the United States will impose an additional 50% effective April 9th. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get volatility in the stock market. It's like his aides just see him picking up something to type on, like this, and they're like, sell everything. And then his tweet comes out. Then they're like, buy it back. Crazy, just crazy. You're on mute.
I don't know why it keeps happening. I'm getting all excited. So what's interesting is his actual comment towards Mexico and Canada saying, if y'all drop your stuff, we're good.
Right.
And so he's talking about, look, if you're cool, don't be a douche. It's like our Full Rant Fridays. You can be a dick, but just don't be a super dick. Right? Like, you come in, you can talk your trash, you get all upset. It's all good, right? And all Trump is asking is, don't be a super dick. right? Like, let's be cool, honey bunny. You like that?
The guys in India right now are like, excellent. China and the US, just screw it up. We'll be sitting here with a billion people just waiting to make shit for you.
That's real interesting. You've done work over in India. You say that it's not the best when it comes to the manufacturing. When was the last time you went over there and really kind of went through China, or not China, India for their manufacturing?
Not in a long time. But where you see it, where I have seen it, is when the Indians come over into the free trade zones in the United Arab Emirates, and the factories are a disaster, just an absolute disaster. And one of my jobs was a consultant to fix the factory, and I was like, it's not fixable. It's just,
Oh wow.
it's not fixable, not because the factory is so bad it's not fixable. Everything's fixable, unless the management really wants it to happen. And the way the Indian system is set up, it doesn't do you any good to rock the boat. They have, its culture is part of everything, and when you rock the boat, and it's the best way to describe it. I've told this story before. Is when I was trying to pay somebody a U.S. wage, an Indian engineer a U.S. wage, and I couldn't do it because everyone was like, you can't pay one guy more, the village will get out of balance. And if you go in and try and fix it in India, in fact, they all hire their relatives, they hire everyone they know. When you try and go and fix things, you're just rocking the boat, and they're like, well, you can't do that because that's Preep, and his dad is the leader of the village over there, and we need to have good relations with them. So they have a lot of culture holding them back from being as brutally efficient. That doesn't mean they can't figure stuff out. I mean, or get things done. You give them a shitload of tasks to do, and they can get it done amazingly fast, and do that type of stuff. But it's hard when you have culture, and I mentioned that even when I was working in Germany. There's a big problem with culture in Germany too. It's left over from the old feudal days and the high class versus the low class. And people don't challenge the boss. They don't say the boss is wrong. Like in the US, people get together and say, hey boss, we need to have a meeting about you wanting to spend all the money on a gambling trip, and they would challenge him. In Germany, the people are just like, boss is taking all the company money and going on a gambling trip, so we're all out of a job.
So they don't like it when you take it and spend it on hookers and coke?
Yeah, right. Going to Ibiza, blowing it all on hookers and booze.
Good. Hey, it's a good old. That's your. Anyways, I'll leave that one alone. I think that was funny. Yeah, we're already starting to see it sell off here again. I'm looking at the markers here, the S&P 500. We've got a drop to about on the S&P 500 futures. The ES, I'm looking at 50.26 from where we're sitting at right now. So about a 50 point. About 50. Excuse me, $75. Yeah, $75 drop. I'm looking to take a short. Anyways, so I apologize. It's starting to get up and around here. So that means expect BTC to come back down to where's this at? 5 minute. Probably see it come back down to these lows of the day, which is going to be that 76 area from the 78. So nice little, we can see the crossover already happening here. Boom, showing weakness. Alrighty.
The fact that it's at 79,000 right now, and it is frankly is amazing to me. What time frame you got up there? 10 minute, 5 minutes?
Oh, this is 30 minutes. So
30,
yeah,
I mean, I thought over the day, after the wild opening of New York this morning, I thought over the day it would slowly decay into that 73,000 zone.
Oh no, it probably will. But I mean, my first target is down at those levels there. so that I can make cash. Yeah. So yeah, expect that, and we will see some. It just depends on what's gonna happen here. Boom. And we're playing off of the 2-hour and the 4-hour area here. So that 4-hour A is holding us. And let me check out the 8-hour here real quick. Give me 1 second. Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
I miss you. Alrighty, so you can see here our 8-hour, yeah, and it bounced off the 8-hour, 8 period moving average this morning. That's where we found the resistance come in. So after the 8 popped up, now we're seeing the sell-offs. We'll see what happens here. But that's it in a nutshell. Man, really crazy day today. There's a couple other news things I know we're closing things up here and wrapping it up. But I think one of the things that I'm definitely looking at, why is this going on? There it is. Boom, news. Is Europe, what's happening there, especially what's going on with Japan and the prime minister coming over. If we can quell the situation and we find an agreement there, I think we can chill out on the market, at least for now. But if that doesn't, if they don't find amnesty between each other, right, or they're willing to give, we're going to then find again more turmoil in the market. And Trump, I hate to say it, but we are the best smelling malarkey pile out there, right? It's the best way of looking at it.
Like you'd be at the dog park and one dog having an ass that smells just fine. It's still sniffing ass, but it's not as bad as the other ones.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to pay attention here as the market comes off. I mean, the fact that Taiwan stock market trading halted today with their circuit breaker that was triggered is a huge indication of what we're seeing. And as we keep moving here, we're going to start to really move. And that happened last night. So as their market was moving, we'll see what happens. I know that the Chinese stock market dropped 10% as well, finishing up the last little bit. China stock market offers worst single day crash since 2008. We've talked about China going and just dealing with this. They're having already 2008 experience already. So this is the thing that I kind of wanted to get to. Well, that's why I had you. We can talk about Bassett too tomorrow because it's really what I want to hit. We kind of all over the place today because there's so many things going on. But I really want to talk about it because it's really important to understand China's role in this, as well as a lot of the other circumstances that are going on from a global standpoint. Again, I'm not a fundamentalist, but I try to listen to a lot of people here and then look at the charts. And if I see the money going in certain directions, it definitely lets me know where and what we can do to capitalize on that. So that's it in a nutshell. Sorry for that montage there, or that's not the word I was looking for. Yeah.
the list today has been epic, Pedro.
Epic. But, I don't even know what.
But good ones. Good ones. The montage is a new one.
The mantra and the entourage of everything that goes on. And that's really what happened with my brain.
Otherwise known as a montage.
Montage. There you go. Alrighty. Yeah, you're all like, this guy's crazy.
Well, that's normal.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our 2.5-hour broadcast today.
Oh, yeah.
Lots going on. We talked about manufacturing. Talked about the roiling markets here. There's sniffing glue or something over there. I'm not sure what.
No, so what happens is me and my fruit drink potions, and so a lot of the cacao that I use and all the other ingredients that I put in get stuck in this. Anyways, let's get going. Pleasure. Thank you guys for having us today.
Mikester, thanks for joining us over on Rumble. Rumble? No, now you got me screwing it up.
Rumble.
On Rumble. Thank you very much, Mikester, for watching. Really appreciate it. Remember to like and share with your friends this wonderful show. Pedro and I have been getting a lot more deep in the weeds in the economy And in the, I don't know what happened to Pedro there, but it looks like Sasquatch is on the screen. And but this economy takes a little explaining right now, so you understand it, because many of the people are getting their information from pundits on the mainstream media channels, and that is fraught with error, bias, and that Pedro and I aren't going to be biased. We're just going to tell you this good, this bad, this good, this bad, this good, this bad, and why.
Well, for us to give somebody good or bad, we have to have a bias, but at least we'll acknowledge our bias and say, look, I have a bias towards this area or this circumstance. This is what we think. And the key is to sit there and say, yeah, we have a bias, and let's steel man that bias, and let's sit there and talk the other side of how certain circumstances would be.
YouTube is doing weird stuff today. Just stops.
Doing weird stuff.
It plays for like 5 seconds and stops. It's the weirdest thing. It's trying to play a little Miss DJ over here on the screens for a little DJ music and just stops. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've been rambling on long enough. Those of you that stuck around here, thanks for sharing your valuable time with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
As always, the man in the box over here is Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to have hosted another great episode of the show. Be there.
So you guys have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.